Hey guys, it's Alex Base here. Welcome to my channel. Thanks very much to everybody who has subscribed to it, and to everybody else who hasn't done so already. Well, do so. Hit it. Hit it now. Obviously, I'm kidding, but I have to do the cheap promotion. Is the most annoying part of my duties. A couple of weeks ago, I did the most laughable phone of the year, the iPhone 16e, which still makes me laugh. Really, it's so funny. But we are moving on. So this week I've got the Google Pixel 9a, and there are some improvements to it compared to the Google Pixel 8a of last year. Not a lot, however. The first thing you notice, of course, is the different camera module, and whether you like it or not, it obviously depends on your personal taste. It's very subjective. However, I have to say that when I saw the phone for the first time in the photos and in the promotional video, I didn't like it much. I think it was tacky and ugly. And when I took it out of the box and had a look at it, just hold it in my hand like this and go around it, it looks way better in person than in videos and in the pictures. So yeah, it's not a bad looking phone. In my case, I think it is okay-ish, not great, but still, I guess better than half of them. And this one here is only two versions, by the way. It's 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of storage, which is this one, and 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. And the starting price point for the 128 gigabytes of storage is 499 quid here in Blighty, which is a bit too much for it, really. And in Europe is 549 euros, and in the US it starts from $499. The improvements that have been made, well, it's got a new main snapper, by the way. It was a 64 megapixel camera on the Pixel 8a, a Sony IMX787, I believe. This one is unknown what sensor it is, but we know for sure that it's a 48 megapixel sensor. What brand it is, unknown. But we'll see how it performs. We still got the 13 megapixel ultra wide camera and the 13 megapixel selfie. Also, the battery has been boosted to 5,100 milliamp hours from 4,492, I think it was. Yeah, 4492 on the Pixel 8a. And also, the charging has been boosted to 23 watts here. 23 watts. Wow. This is super fast charging, indeed. Up from the incredible 18 watts on the 8a. We'll see about that one in the battery section, of course. Speaking of the battery section, again, I have left a video breakdown with the different parts of the video in the description, so you don't have to watch the whole video or a quarter of it or whatever. You can jump to the part that you're most interested in and check it out without wasting much time. And the other improvement has been in the chipset. Now it is Google Tensor G4, and also the IP rating. Now it's IP68. Up from IP67 on the 8a. It is an interesting, curious phone. Let's not jump to conclusions straight away. And I'm going to delve into it with you shortly, and we're going to find out if it is good, bad, or, neutral. And we're going to find out if I'm going to recommend it to you at the end of the video. So let's crack on. Here are the main specs of the phone. Not much has changed since the Google Pixel 8a. And interesting thing is the eSIM support. It's only one eSIM, and on the bottom there is a slot for one physical SIM card. So it's actually dual SIM, but one of each, which is pretty curious. You can see it's a very compact phone, 6.3-inch screen and not very thick. It's covered by Gorilla Glass 3 on the front, and it's got an aluminum frame. The SIM trays on the bottom, of course, and the charging port and stereo speakers port, and you've got the power button on the top right hand side, and underneath it is the volume rocker, and on the back is covered by plastic. Unfortunately, it's very light. It only weighs 183 grams, so it's pretty good. Now let's kick off with the stereo speakers and crack on. Everyday use is okay on the Pixel 9a, and the 120Hz OLED screen is nice overall. Not great, but it's okay for usage nonetheless. You do have some good stuff like the Wi-Fi 6E, not Wi-Fi 7, but still, and also eSIM support. But deleting an app, you cannot delete it on the main screen. Then you cannot delete it from the drawer. You have to go into the settings and from there into the apps and then delete it or uninstall it, which is stupid with a capital S. So the software is not as good as its reputation goes. For security, you've got optical fingerprint sensor and it works decently well, and also got face unlock if you want to use it, and of course the pin unlock too. It's not very customizable, but there are some options that you can choose from into the software, wallpapers and icons, but not a lot. Of course, there's support for Ultra HDR into the Google Photos app, and also for deleting images or people from the photo, and blurring and also reflection handling and so on. There are various AI features such as Pixel Studio or Pixel Tips or the Translate app or Gemini. And if you're into AI, this phone can do a lot for you. I'm not into AI shenanigans, of course, as I've told you many times, but it is there to use it and supports various languages.
Pelota.
Wholemeal bread versus white bread.
Wholemeal bread and white bread differ primarily in how the wheat grain is processed, which
Now moving on to the display, it's a flat screen of course, and it's OLED HDR10 120Hz. It's 422 pixels per inch, so decently sharp. However, those thick bezels are getting on my nerves. They're cheap and annoying, and compared to the Nothing Phone 2A Plus, much bigger. And the 2A Plus is a cheaper phone. And in terms of legibility outside, it's pretty good. It's got high brightness and it's very readable. And the 120Hz is under smooth display on the bottom of the screen, which is pretty annoying. It has got only two color modes, natural or adaptive, and the adaptive, of course, is the vivid color mode. It's a decent color contrast as well, and you do get HDR support when you watch some content on YouTube. Despite the fact that it does not have a high dynamic range 10 plus and no Dolby Vision support, it's actually quite good, and you can watch any content, would that be TV shows, movies, animation, sports, or anything really. You won't be disappointed with the overall quality of it, except of course for those thick, ugly, cheap bezels. In terms of refresh rate, it only has two modes, the 60Hz basic one and the smooth display, which is 120Hz. And when you put it to 120Hz, i.e. smooth display on the bottom of the settings, it's actually surfing on Google Chrome is 120Hz and interface is 120Hz too. There is something interesting when you watch videos, is also 120Hz, does not go down. Only in Google Maps it went down to 60Hz. That is pretty curious. When you turn the smooth display off, it's 60Hz in everything you do pretty much. It's set on it and that's it. You won't be surprised that I couldn't get any high frame rate gaming. All of it was stuck at 60Hz. I tried my favorite Asphalt Legends as well as PUBG and also Call of Duty, and they were all stuck to 60Hz, but that was expected. Also, there was a lot of stutter in terms of game performance. Speaking of performance, that Google Tensor G4 delivers fine results in terms of Geekbench 6 in the CPU department, and also in the AI, just for fun, I did test it. It's scoring pretty well. Those fine results, of course, are in the context of mid-range phones. In terms of stability, and when you put the phone under stress in GPU tasks and gaming specifically, I got average results, but I expected lower ones, so this is a win in my book. However, I couldn't test certain features on 3D marks, so that is a big minus for the Google Pixel 9a. Disappointing, really. Moving on to the battery, it's been bumped up to 5,100 milliamp hours, and also the charging has been boosted to 23 watts wired one, and 7.5 watts wireless remained from the Google Pixel 8a. In terms of charging, it was so slow that I am about to celebrate my 50th birthday. I'm gonna have problems blowing all those 50 candles, really. In half an hour, I got 41% charge, and a full charge took from 0 to 100% 1 hour and 49 minutes, which is ludicrous. I just feel like killing myself waiting for it. A quick reminder, of course, that fast charging does not damage your battery lifespan. That is complete bullcrap. And also, of course, 7.5 watts wireless charging that the phone takes. You'll be probably charging it for 3 days on it, by the way. 1 hour of phone calls took down the battery by 4%, 1 hour of web browsing took it down by 9%, 1 hour of watching videos took it down by 6%, and 1 hour of gaming took it down by 13%. Nothing special about those results, just above average, but still good for a Pixel, I guess. Now let's wrap it up with the camera. We've got a 48 megapixel main snapper with optical image stabilization and video up to 4K and 60 frames per second, and a 13 megapixel ultra wide with only full HD video at 60 frames per second. On the front, we've got a 13 megapixel selfie that can do 4K at 30 frames per second. The selfies are solid and there's a lot of detail and also very good natural colors. The depth is nice, and also in portrait mode the separation of the subject is pretty good. These are one of the better snaps that you can get in terms of selfies on a mid-range phone. The main camera produces pretty good photos during the day. I expected less than this, but what I got was almost flagship level images. The colors are lifelike, there is plenty of detail, the dynamic range is wide, and also the white balance is overall reliable. And I was pretty happy with the performance of it. The ultra wide camera produces also good images, of course not as good as the main camera, but still in good lighting during the day, the detail, it remains consistent and the colors are fine. As far as ultra wides go, sharpness does tend to suffer around the edges, and the quality does go down if it is not, bright enough or there is not enough light in it. But still, they're pretty good. The zooming shots that are cropped from the main camera are also good overall during the day, without being exceptional or anything, but they're pretty usable. The night selfies are more than decent. The quality of them is actually quite consistent. The detail remains, and also the colors are natural. And I was pleasantly surprised by it. And also the portrait shots, again, the separation of the subject is pretty good. So I would rate these one of the better night selfies on a mid-range phone, even upper mid-range phone, really. In fact, those selfies are actually better than some flagship phones. And if the night selfies on the Google Pixel 9a are among the better ones on the market in its price range, well, the night performance from the two cameras on the back is outstanding. The main camera produces excellent images with excellent detail, and high dynamic range is spot on. It handles the highlights and the shadows very well, and the colors are very accurate. There's no noise to speak of. In terms of the ultra wide, again, it produces good images. There is some over sharpening around the edges, and it's pretty much struggles with the shadows, but that is to be expected from an ultra wide lens. Overall, both of them produce excellent images. The 2x zoom performs pretty well when there is enough light. If there isn't enough light, it will be overprocessed, and of course it's going to suffer with noise and inaccurate blurred colors. But still, the night performance of this phone is impressive. Now let's move on to the video, which turned out to be above average. It's a little bit soft, but still not bad overall. Right guys, that's 1080p at 60 frames per second. This is on regular zoom. We can do the toggle at 1.4. That helps. Regular again. This one's 4K at 30 frames per second. Ultra wide 1080p at 60 frames per second. Main camera 4K at 60 frames per second. Two times zoom 4K at 60 frames per second. Alright guys, that's 4K at 30 frames per second. You can actually change the toggle a little bit to 1.4. So it's gonna work. There we go. Not too bad. (1080p) 60 frames per second from the ultra wide, which is the maximum. (4K) at 60 frames per second. Double zoom 4K 60 frames per second.
I'm going to ask the taxi to see how much it is.
Well, there you have it, folks. The Google Pixel 9a. Overall, it's not a bad phone, and it's better than I expected. I did like the camera performance during the day, and the main camera, even the ultra wide and the 2 times zoom from the main camera again are performing well. The selfies are also okay for a mid-ranger, and the video is good from the main camera at least. The performance with the Tensor G4 is also okay, for pretty good for a mid-ranger, but not for a flagship like, you know, the one that is got in the Google Pixel 9 Pro or 9 Pro XL. Got the same performance and chipset. This is unacceptable by Google, but for this one it's fine. The screen is also good overall. Does not have you know, LTPO technology. Does not have Dolby Vision. It's got thick bezels, which is pretty cheap and ugly. But overall, the HDR performance of it is pretty good, and it gets bright enough, at least in lighting in Britain, of course. I'm not so sure if it's gonna be enough in a hot country. The problem of this phone is fails to stand out in a very competitive market segment, the mid-range market segment, and there are better options at the minute, and I can name you a few pretty quickly. Samsung S24 FE, OnePlus 13R, Vivo V40 Pro, and I'm reviewing in a minute Nothing Phone 3a Pro, which also may turn out to be better than this one and cheaper. And another one that you might want to have a look at if you're in the market for a mid-ranger in this price range to, you know, $600, 600 quid, is the Oppo Reno 13 Pro. I haven't reviewed that one, probably I won't be, but then again, it's good to have a look at it before you make the decision. As for if you've set your sights on a compact phone, or specifically Google Pixel, you want this one. At £499, still a little bit too much for 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, and 8 gigabytes and 256 gigabytes of storage for 599 quid it's way too much. Wait for the price to settle. It's going to settle pretty soon, and it can drop down to 429, 419, even 399 quid or 399 bucks in the US. So then it would be worth it, not at the minute. And also with 7 years of support from Google, you're pretty much covered, so you don't lose out even if you buy it from, like, you know, 6 or 8 months from now if you're selling this one. Thanks very much for watching, and see you next time. Ciao.